Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Brandon, and welcome back to Marotta Media. As usual, it has been a while since my last review. I'm sorry, life has just been very busy lately. That'll always be my excuse for why I don't upload, because if I had the time to upload YouTube videos all the time, I absolutely would, but unfortunately I don't have that luxury. But it worked out for the better, because the movie I'm talking about today is one that I had a lot of thoughts on and really wanted to gather all of them before I made a full review on it. And that movie was Ari Aster's newest film, Beau Is Afraid. In Beau Is Afraid, we follow the titular character Beau, played by Joaquin Phoenix, as he tries to get to his mother's house. But along the way, he is faced with many obstacles as well as his darkest fears on his journey back home. So as I mentioned, this is the newest film from director Ari Aster. Ari Aster has made 3 movies thus far, his first being Hereditary from 2018. And I only watched Hereditary once, and if you've been watching my videos as long as I've been doing this, you will know that I did not really care for Hereditary. That being said, it is a movie that I feel I need to rewatch because I think I may have missed something, because so many people love that movie and I was like, I'll give it another chance, so I'll watch Hereditary again sometime soon. But his second movie, Midsommar, is one that I absolutely adored. I really enjoyed it the first time I watched it, but then I bought the director's cut, which you could see over my right shoulder. But the director's cut of that movie only heightened my love for it, and in fact it even bumped up my rating for the movie itself. So I'm a big fan of Ari Aster, because even though it's very evident that this guy has some unresolved trauma, I will absolutely watch whatever he makes. But it's interesting because he has said in interviews that Hereditary is a family drama and Midsommar is a breakup movie, and he even wrote that movie when he was going through a breakup. And after watching Beau Is Afraid, I'm starting to question if Ari Aster has a good relationship with his mother. Because this movie is a 3-hour-long epic in the format of the hero's journey about a man with severe mommy issues. But yes, you heard me right. This movie is 3 hours long, which really made me nervous because I don't mind movies that have long run times if they justify them. But just in the past year alone, we've gotten a lot of really good 3-hour long movies. And thankfully, I actually enjoyed Beau Is Afraid quite a bit. However, I did not like this movie more than Midsommar. That is still my favorite Ari Aster movie. So first things first, I will be going into my thoughts on what I liked and what I didn't like about this movie, and Beau Is Afraid has a very convoluted plot and ending, so I will briefly go over all of the important events and give my thoughts on what I thought the ending meant. So first, let's get right into my thoughts on what I liked and did not like. First and foremost, Joaquin Phoenix is great in this movie. I mean, he always is. He's been great in every movie that I've seen him in. The character of Beau is such an anxiety-riddled coward, and he plays that role very, very well. I've even seen some people go as far as to say that this is the best performance of Joaquin Phoenix's career, and I don't agree with that at all. Don't get me wrong, it was a great performance, but I don't even know if this is top 5, but that's not really a testament to his performance being bad. It's more so just that he has other performances that are so much better. But in fact, I was impressed by the acting from the whole cast, especially Nathan Lane and Amy Ryan. I do not remember the last movie I saw Nathan Lane in, so it was refreshing to see him back in something. And Amy Ryan, who I personally know better as Holly Flax from The Office, was great in this too. But easily the second best performance is Patti LuPone, who plays Mona Wasserman, Beau's mother. But this movie has such an interesting presentation, and I love the way Ari Aster presents his movies. His vision is just so meticulous, and while his style might be very unorthodox, it's oddly appealing. And it's perfectly showcased through this movie's production design. I was particularly impressed with the production design of Beau's apartment building as well as the street outside of it. Because without any exaggeration, Beau lives in possibly the worst neighborhood that you could imagine. The people outside of Beau's apartment are some of the sketchiest looking people you will ever see. And they could be doing all sorts of terrible things, from doing drugs in broad daylight to killing another person. This movie is basically if Portland, Oregon was kind of just shrunk down to one little area. That might be a very out-of-pocket joke, but I just couldn't resist. But his apartment walls are all spray painted with graffiti. It just looks like this awful, awful place that you question why anyone would want to live there. There's another scene where Beau wakes up in a bedroom, and this bedroom clearly belongs to a young girl. The walls are all pink, and there's like these boy band posters plastered all over. The way all the posters and pictures are spaced along the walls really looks like the way a teenage girl would do it. And at the end of the movie, without getting into spoilers just yet, there is a house that we're in, and this house is just incredible. The architecture is so unique, and it was very fun to just look at it. The cinematography was also very well done. As I mentioned, Ari Aster just has a very unique way of presenting things, and I love the way this movie was shot, because it kind of goes off the rails a few times and presents things in a very surreal sort of way. And there's one particular sequence that's animated that I thought looked absolutely stunning. In terms of things that I didn't quite like, as I mentioned, I did not think that this movie really justified its runtime at all. When it ended, I sat there thinking, did that movie really need to be 3 hours long? But the fact that A24 funded this movie and said, yeah, go ahead, make it 3 hours long is very encouraging, and I'm so happy that they did it. Even though I don't think this movie should have been 3 hours long, I love seeing artists supported for movies like this, because this movie is not going to make a lot of money. Something else I didn't quite like, much like Ari Aster's previous two films, is that this movie can get a little too weird and borderline pretentious for its own good. As I said, those are my very brief thoughts on what I liked and did not like about the movie, so now I'm gonna go into what I thought the ending meant. And to get into my full thoughts on the ending, I will be going over the very important events leading to the ending as quickly as I can. So if you guys have not seen Beau Is Afraid and are planning on it, then I suggest you skip to this part of the video. Otherwise, if you have no interest in seeing this movie or you watched it, stick around and let me know if you agree with my thoughts. So the basic premise of Beau Is Afraid is that Beau is trying to get to his mother's house in order to attend her funeral, because she died after a very freak accident. But along the way, he keeps facing these obstacles that are preventing him from getting there. And at the beginning of the movie, we learn a lot about Beau. He's a very paranoid and anxious man. He's going to therapy to deal with the trauma that his mother bestowed upon him. And we also find out that Beau's father died before he was born. In fact, he died when he was conceived, as his mother puts it. She literally tells Beau that his father died as he ejaculated inside of her. I'm sorry, I just had no other way of putting it. And so Beau's mother tells him that he has the same condition as his father, and if he ejaculates, he will also die. So as a result, Beau is a virgin and has never had a partner. But it's revealed in a flashback that Beau met a girl named Elaine on a cruise that he went on with his mother. And he immediately became attracted to her, and the two of them just had this instant connection. They became very close with one another, and Elaine was even Beau's first kiss. However, it's revealed throughout the cruise that Elaine's mother is also very controlling, and she doesn't really like the fact that Elaine is hanging out with Beau. And so one night, as Beau and his mother are sleeping, Elaine breaks into his room in a panic. And soon her mother follows behind her, screaming at her, and as Beau and his mother awake from their slumber, Elaine begs for Beau to wait for her. And as her mother drags her out of the room, Beau is left stunned, and his mother is left confused and obviously not thrilled with what she just witnessed. But along the way, Beau meets a multitude of different characters, including Roger and Grace, played by the aforementioned Nathan Lane and Amy Ryan, whom he meets after they hit him with their car. And this is where that room I mentioned earlier comes into play. Beau wakes up in these two's daughter's bedroom, and it's revealed that the two of them also have a son, but he died while serving in the war. And this part of the movie is where I started to really piece things together. Everything that Beau was experiencing up until this point was some sort of challenge in order to test his loyalty to his mother. And I started to realize this when Grace left Beau a note on a napkin that said, "Stop incriminating yourself." And in the moment, you're thinking, what does that mean? What does she mean by that? And later on, she leaves Beau alone in the living room so he can watch TV. But before she leaves the room, she whispers a channel in his ear. And when Beau turns to that channel, it becomes a broadcast of himself, where it shows that Beau is clearly being watched, very Truman Show-esque. And he starts to move around to make sure that the broadcast is live, and obviously there's a little bit of a delay, but it is in fact a live broadcast. And the daughter of these two, who is not the biggest fan of Beau because he's been sleeping in her bedroom, even tells him that he failed his test. And some other events occur after that, and it results in Beau fleeing their house. After he flees, Beau stumbles upon this traveling theater troupe in the woods, and they're about to put on a play, and Beau sits there mesmerized by the play he's watching. Because in it, Beau envisions himself in the role of the main character, and he starts to see this life that he thinks he could have had. Because in the play, he's married to a woman and has 3 kids, but obviously those are 2 things that can never happen due to his mother's manipulation. But after some more events occur after this play, Beau finally arrives at his mother's house. I'm leaving out a lot of stuff here, but I just don't have time to go over everything because I'm not an expert. I don't know what every single detail meant. But as he arrives, he learns that he has missed the funeral because the people are carrying everything out, and he sees his mother's headless body in the coffin. Yeah, I guess that's something I forgot to mention. His mother died because a chandelier fell on her head. So that's a hell of a way to go. And as he's roaming his mother's house, we see all of these ads from when Beau was a kid that include him that are advertising his mother's company. And it becomes more and more clear that Beau was basically the only thing in his mother's life. But after he falls asleep, a mysterious woman shows up to the funeral saying that she thought that the funeral was at 8 p.m. rather than 8 a.m. And sure enough, this woman turns out to be Elaine, the girl that he met on the cruise ship. And when Beau finally realizes this, and Elaine then realizes who he is, the two of them rekindle their connection to one another. And how do they rekindle their connection? By having sex in Beau's mother's bed. How else? And Beau is obviously very hesitant about this because remember, his mother told him that if he climaxes, he will die the same way that his father did. But when he finally reaches that point, he's very relieved to find that he is not, in fact, dead. But instead he realizes that Elaine has frozen to death on top of him. And Beau freaks out and her body falls off the bed in the exact same position that she was on top of him. And in a very funny way, Beau's mother emerges from the bathroom and admits that she has been watching him the whole time and she faked her death. And along with her watching Beau throughout this entire journey, she reveals that his therapist has been working with her, and he's been supplying her with all of the notes from their sessions where Beau talks badly about her. And obviously she's stunned by this because she feels that she provided nothing but love and support for Beau throughout his life. But obviously that isn't the case because he's very easily manipulated by her and it's taken a toll on his psyche. And this next part, if you've seen the movie, you know where I'm going, but I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know what this all meant, but I'm just going to tell you what happened. Throughout the movie, Beau is having these flashbacks of his mother putting him in an attic. And then in present day, she does the exact same thing, saying that he needs to learn the truth, and so she puts him up in the attic. And Beau hears this weird sound that sounds like someone groaning in the darkness of the attic, but he can't see who or what it is. And he turns on a flashlight, and what is revealed is a giant penis monster. I am not kidding you, that's what it is. And I have no way of proving this, but this is absolutely true. When I was watching this movie, I said to myself, why do I feel like there's gonna be some sort of giant penis in the darkness there? Just because it seems like all of Ari Aster's movies end with nudity or genitalia of some kind. But along with the giant penis monster, there seems to be another version of Beau that's very malnourished. Now this is up for interpretation because it looked like him, but the way that they shot those flashback scenes of him being put in the attic, it kind of came from the point of view of another person. So I thought that it could have been a brother, or maybe it's him. I really don't know. What did you guys think about that part? But after Beau falls out of the attic after being scared by the giant penis monster, his mother reveals that the penis monster is Beau's father. And after this, Beau's aggression reaches a breaking point and he begins to strangle his mother. And he soon realizes what he is doing and he stops, but his mother collapses into a glass table out of shock. So Beau, believing that she's dead, flees the house and goes to the docks and runs away on a motorboat. And he soon enters this dark cave, and this cave soon turns into a giant stadium that's full of people. It's basically set up like a stadium for a basketball game. There's seats, there's fans, there's a big jumbotron in the center. But also present in this stadium are Beau's mother as well as their lawyer. Beau also has a lawyer, but he can't defend him because he doesn't have a microphone. And then soon after, Beau's lawyer is thrown off the edge and lands on a rock and dies. This movie's weird, dude. But the lawyer then shows all of these different moments throughout Beau's life, as well as the journey that we just witnessed where he disobeyed her or disappointed her. And he tries to defend himself, but he's never given a chance to speak. And obviously his lawyer can't help him either because, like I said, he didn't have a microphone and then he's killed soon after. But after they go through this slideshow of all these moments of Beau's life where he did not meet the standards of his mother, he is punished to death. And he's punished by his boat flipping over, and you can see the boat shaking. It's very obvious that Beau is fighting to try to get back to the surface. But soon enough, the fighting subsides, and I think I took this more as the only way that Beau can escape his mother's influence is just through death. So what I think this whole movie was basically a huge test or trial for Beau to prove his love to his mother. But due to his own submissive personality, by her own doing, he never fought hard enough to get to her funeral. So it came off to her like he never truly loved her because he didn't care enough to get to her funeral on time. And regarding Beau's father's death, I think his mother made that whole story up. I believe that Beau's father just left her after Beau was born, and she couldn't take that, so she did everything in her power to make sure that she wouldn't lose Beau too. She couldn't bear to lose Beau like she lost his father, so she lied to him about his condition. That way he would never fall in love with a woman and leave his mother for her. And regarding the giant penis monster, I don't know what that meant, but I kind of took it as Beau's father's identity doesn't really matter. He's just a man who impregnated her, so in her eyes, he's just a giant dick, I guess. But as I mentioned, there were a lot of pictures of Beau advertising his mother's company in her house. And this company isn't just any company, it's a large corporation. And this corporation makes a multitude of things, from the pills that Beau takes, to the TV dinners he eats, to the appliances in his apartment. Because the logo of her company is a big MW for Mona Wasserman, and it's present on a lot of the products that you see throughout the movie, so it's almost as if it's like this big brother sort of character that's keeping an eye on Beau at all times. It's such a long-winded way of presenting a story with a very simple message like this, but I enjoyed myself. As I said, it really reminded me of The Truman Show, and it also reminded me of The Green Knight, another A24 movie, because that's another movie where the protagonist is faced with challenges set forth by his mother. But like I said, this is a movie that will absolutely not be for everybody. I could definitely see some people walking out of this movie and saying, that was the worst thing that I have ever seen in my entire life. So if I could give anybody who is thinking of watching this movie some advice on how to enjoy it, then I will do so right now. This movie, I think, is better if you look at it through a lens of anxiety. Because Beau is a very anxious man, and a lot of the things that happen to him are things that would never happen in real life. Have you ever had a thought in your life where you thought that a certain situation was going to turn out absolutely horribly, but it didn't? It was just all in your head. And that's basically what Beau Is Afraid is. It's a compilation of all of these moments that Beau pictured would go in the worst way possible, and they did. But it makes you question what was real and what wasn't, what was he imagining and what actually happened. And I think that makes this movie so much more interesting, and I might like it even more on a rewatch. It's basically the best example of Murphy's Law that I have ever seen in a movie before. So in the end, guys, I really enjoyed Beau Is Afraid. It's definitely not a movie that everyone will enjoy. It might be too long for you, it might be too pretentious for you, and if it is, I completely understand. But I really like movies that make me think and have me piece all of these puzzle pieces together and determine what I think the story meant. And like I said, it's so refreshing to me to see a studio like A24 supporting movies like this, because I can assure you, we will never, ever see any movie like Beau Is Afraid ever again unless Ari Aster makes something similar. That's the only other way it can be duplicated. And overall, I would give Beau Is Afraid a 7 out of 10. Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching my review of Beau Is Afraid. If you guys saw this movie, let me know what you thought about it. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Were you confused by it? Did you think it was too pretentious? If you guys like this review, be sure to hit that thumbs up and do not forget to subscribe. If you want to see my previous reviews, I will link those right over here. Other than that, I hope you all have a tremendous rest of your day, and I will see you all next time.